Let's go Dolphins! The Miami Dolphins may have just crossed a line of no return, and what I'm about to tell you could change the way you view this team for the rest of the season. Behind closed doors, frustration is boiling over, trust is breaking, and what's happening within the Dolphins organization right now is much darker than you might imagine. We're not just talking about a bad loss or a bad decision. No, this goes deeper. There are players tuning out, coaches deflecting blame, and a general manager whose mistakes may have finally poisoned the locker room irreparably. But before I dive into the full truth, I need to know who the real fans are. If you've ever found yourself yelling at the TV, pacing in the fourth quarter, or holding back tears after another heartbreak, click that like button right now. Only click if you're a true fan who's felt this pain for years. And while you're at it, leave a comment below saying, "Go, Dolphins! We deserve better." Now brace yourself, because the story I'm about to reveal isn't just another post-game rant. It's the raw, unfiltered truth about why this franchise is in decline, who's to blame, and what needs to happen before it's too late. Let's get right into it. The Miami Dolphins just hit rock bottom. After a humiliating loss to the 0-4 Carolina Panthers, a team that's arguably the worst in the league with an unproven head coach in Dave Canales and a struggling quarterback in Bryce Young, Dolphins fans were left speechless. A 17-0 lead evaporated into a 27-24 defeat. The defense, shredded for 239 rushing yards, including 209 by Rico Dowdle, who had averaged a miserable 2.7 yards per carry coming into the game and exploded for 9 yards per carry against this paper-thin Dolphins defense. 6 punts and 7 possessions. Inability to stop a nosebleed. Defensive collapse. Offensive stagnation. And at the heart of it all, Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier, who somehow still have their jobs. Let's talk about McDaniel's bizarre decision-making. Late in the fourth quarter, down by 3 points with just over a minute left and facing a 4th and 18, he chose to punt the ball. Punt, as if this defense, the same one that just surrendered nearly 240 rushing yards, was going to get a stop. That moment wasn't just conservative, it was cowardly. The chances of converting that 4th down were slim, yes, but the chance of the defense forcing a 3-and-out? Practically non-existent. This wasn't a misstep. This was a full-blown coaching meltdown. And then comes McDaniel's post-game quote. He said preparation and execution were the reason they lost, adding, "We thought we were prepared, and clearly we weren't." Are you serious? That's your takeaway? That's your leadership? You thought you were ready, and you weren't? This wasn't a throwaway game. This was a moment where everything should have been on the line. Instead, we got excuses. It gets worse. The Dolphins haven't just lost 4 of their first 5 games. They've been outcoached, outplayed, and outhustled. There was a time we said, at least McDaniel beats the teams he should. But that's no longer true. Blowing a 17-point lead to Carolina is proof of that. This isn't a team trending upward. It's a team unraveling before our eyes. And where's the leadership in the locker room? Minkah Fitzpatrick refused to speak to the media after the game, a clear violation of the NFL's media policy. This isn't just a bad look, it's a sign of internal chaos. Fitzpatrick, once a high-profile draft pick and former All-Pro, continues to act like he never wanted to be part of this franchise. His silence was deafening, and his leadership non-existent. Be a leader, Minkah. That's what this team desperately needs. Instead, we're watching professionalism get tossed aside like it doesn't matter. Now, let's shift to the front office. Chris Grier. The man should have been fired years ago. Yet here he is, still making disastrous decisions. He's been GM since 2016 and still hasn't delivered a playoff win. What job lets you fail for nearly a decade and still stay employed? Only in Miami, apparently. And this year's draft? A catastrophe. Kenneth Grant and Jonah Savinia could go down as the worst first and second round combo in NFL history. Grant got blown off the line of scrimmage by 8 yards by a third-string offensive guard. Meanwhile, Jonah Savinia has been so bad at guard, he's making Liam Eichenberg look like Zach Martin. Let that sink in. Chris Grier's track record is a collection of high-risk trades and wasted draft capital. Even the so-called big moves like Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Ramsey were desperate swings that haven't moved the needle when it matters. And the secondary? It might be the worst in the NFL. The 2 starting corners, Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones, weren't even on NFL rosters when training camp began. Jones was signed the first week of camp. Douglas was a last-minute roster cut pickup. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver might be getting the heat, but let's be honest, he was handed a dumpster fire. There's no talent, no depth, and no identity on that side of the ball. Tua Tagovailoa admitted the Panthers shut down the middle of the field and the Dolphins had no answers. That's on coaching. That's on scheme. That's on Mike McDaniel. You had 3 possessions in the second half to put the game away and couldn't score a single meaningful point. For the first time under McDaniel, Miami blew a 17-point lead. And you know what? It won't be the last. The collapse against Carolina isn't just one bad game. It's the clearest signal yet that the foundation of this Miami Dolphins team is crumbling from the inside out. And if Stephen Ross doesn't wake up and clean house, the entire fan base is going to walk. Many already are. People are in my mentions saying they're done watching this team, done investing emotionally and financially in a franchise that clearly doesn't prioritize winning. And I don't blame them. Let's put this in perspective. Ross has kept Chris Greer as GM since 2016. That's nearly a decade of draft busts, questionable trades, locker room dysfunction, and 0 playoff wins. 0. Greer's tenure is one long highlight reel of mediocrity and missed opportunities. How is that acceptable? It's not. The Dolphins have had more rebuilds than meaningful January football games, and that's not an exaggeration. At what point does accountability come into play? And Mike McDaniel? Let's stop pretending he's some offensive genius immune from criticism. His offense is one-dimensional. When a team takes away the middle of the field, like Carolina did, there's no adjustment, no plan B. That's not a one-time thing. That's been the story in every big game that's mattered. The Titans game last year, the Seahawks game in 2024, and now this Panthers meltdown. Every time the moment gets big, McDaniel shrinks. He can script the first quarter, but when it's time to counterpunch, there's nothing. It's like watching a fighter throw a beautiful jab in the first round, then get knocked out because he doesn't know how to respond. You look at what happened in that second half, and it's downright disgraceful. The Panthers were practically begging to be put away. You're up 17-0. Bryce Young is giving the ball away like Halloween candy. And instead of closing the door, Miami let them back in. And the coaching staff had no clue how to respond. That is not a playoff team. That is not a Super Bowl contender. That is a rudderless, broken group with no leadership on the sidelines or in the front office. And here's something that should terrify every fan. There is no cavalry coming. The offensive line? Injuries have gutted it. But even healthy, it's a mess. The guys who took the field last week, they were turnstiles. Devin Achane had 10 carries for 16 yards. That's 1.6 yards per carry against a defense that was giving up over 130 per game. The Panthers' defense was ranked near the bottom of the league, and we made them look elite. That's coaching. That's personnel. That's everything wrong with the Dolphins in one game. Even if you wanted to blame the defense more, and there's plenty of blame to go around, what exactly was Anthony Weaver supposed to do with this secondary? Douglas and Jones weren't even in the league when camps opened. There's no talent back there. The front seven, who were hyped in the preseason, look soft. They can't stop the run, they can't pressure the quarterback consistently, and they fold the second they're met with resistance. You know what this reminds me of? Every other failed Dolphins era we've lived through. The hype, the hope, the splashy offseason moves, and then the brutal crash to reality once the season starts. This is the same old Dolphins with new names on the jerseys. And it's exhausting. This team has been rebuilding for 2 decades. At some point, it's not a rebuild, it's just failure with good PR. There's no accountability, no direction, and no consequences for repeated failure. The fans care more than the ownership does. That's what it feels like. And that's why people are furious. We were told this was the year. We were told the pieces were in place. But all we've got is a coach who punts away chances to win, a GM who keeps drafting busts, and an owner who keeps letting it happen. And let's not forget this defense was just torched by a running back who looked like a practice squad player a few weeks ago. Rico Dowdle isn't Derrick Henry. He's not Nick Chubb. But against Miami, he looked like a Hall of Famer. That's unacceptable. That's humiliating. And worst of all, it was predictable.